Okay, so get this right. I just finished this book, and it totally blew my mind. It's called Emotional Intelligence for Dummies, the second edition. And I knew I just had to share it with you for this Real Reads review. You might be thinking, emotional intelligence. Sounds kind of dry, right? But trust me, it is packed with practical stuff, and it can seriously level up your life relationships at work, even parenting.
You know, what's fascinating about this book is how it kind of like reframes our understanding of smart. We often get so caught up in IQ and all the technical skills, but emotional intelligence, or EI, it's like this hidden superpower that can make all the difference.
Okay, so it's less about being a brainiac and more about like understanding and managing those messy feelings. We all have those.
Exactly. It's about recognizing and then harnessing the power of emotions, both our own and those of the people around us. The book breaks it down into 4 core areas: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management.
Okay, let's break those down. Self-awareness, that seems pretty straightforward, right? Just knowing what you're feeling.
It's a bit deeper than that. Think of it this way. Imagine you're constantly getting triggered by like a coworker's sarcastic comments. Self-awareness isn't just noticing that you're irritated, it's digging into why those comments bother you so much. Maybe it links back to some childhood experience or like a deep-seated insecurity. That understanding gives you the power to actually choose a different response instead of just reacting impulsively.
Oh, so it's like being a detective of your own emotions. I can see how that could be helpful, but
Yeah.
what about those times when you do react impulsively? That's where self-management comes in, right?
Absolutely. Self-management is all about having those strategies to handle those really intense emotions, especially when they threaten to hijack your behavior. The book dives into techniques like deep breathing or taking a mindful pause before reacting. It emphasizes that you're not suppressing emotions, but rather finding healthy ways to express or channel them.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like instead of exploding at your partner after a stressful day,
Yeah.
you recognize that you're on edge and choose to take a walk to cool down first. Okay, so we've got self-awareness and self-management. What about the other people part of EI?
That's where social awareness comes in. Have you ever had a friend go completely silent and you just kept chattering away, like totally oblivious? That's a lack of social awareness. It's about picking up on those subtle cues, body language, tone of voice, even energy shifts that give us insights into how others are feeling. It's like tuning into a different radio frequency to truly understand where they're coming from.
That's so true. I've definitely been guilty of missing those cues in the past. It's like we're so caught up in our own heads
Hmm.
that we forget to actually see the people around us. And then there's relationship management. Is that about like being a smooth talker?
Not exactly. It's more about applying all those other EI skills: self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness to build strong and healthy connections. This book really emphasizes that relationships thrive on clear communication, empathy, and the ability to navigate conflict constructively. It's not about avoiding disagreements altogether, but about having the tools to address them in a way that strengthens the relationship rather than tearing it apart.
Okay, so we've got the 4 pillars of EI down.
Yeah.
But honestly, why should we even care? Does being emotionally intelligent actually make a difference in our lives?
Oh, absolutely. This is where things get really interesting. The book makes a compelling case that strong EI can be a game changer in almost every area of life.
Wait, seriously, like how do you spill the tea?
Well, let's start with work. We tend to think success is all about hard skills and technical expertise, but research shows that EI plays a huge role in workplace performance, especially as you climb the ladder. Teams with strong EI are more collaborative and productive, and leaders with high EI inspire and motivate their people, even in customer service. Someone with strong EI can turn a frustrating situation into a positive experience.
So it's not just about avoiding drama in the office,
Yeah.
but actually boosting your performance and even your career prospects. I'm all ears.
You know, it's fascinating how much research supports the link between EI and career success. For example, there was a study by the Carnegie Institute of Technology, and they found that 85% of financial success is due to skills like communication, negotiation, and leadership, which all fall under the umbrella of EI.
Wow, 85%. That's mind-blowing. So it's not just about being a tech whiz or a numbers guru, but it's about how you interact with people and navigate all the workplace dynamic.
Precisely. And it's not limited to the corporate world either. Think about entrepreneurs, artists, even teachers. Those who can connect with others on an emotional level, build that trust, and inspire action. Those are the folks who truly stand out.
Okay, I'm getting how EI can be like a secret weapon in the professional world. But what about our personal lives? Can it really help us with, say, relationship drama, or family conflicts?
Absolutely. This is where EI becomes less about getting ahead and more about nurturing, fulfilling connections. Imagine, you and your partner are constantly bickering about chores. Instead of just reacting with anger or defensiveness, someone with high EI might recognize those emotions, take a breath, and then express their needs in a calm and assertive way. Or they might use their social awareness to pick up on their partner's underlying frustration and offer support instead of criticism.
Oh, so it's like having a cheat sheet
Oh,
for understanding and responding to all those tricky relationship moments. So instead of adding fuel to the fire, you're actually diffusing the tension.
that's a great way to put it. And the book dives into specific techniques for strengthening relationships. For example, it talks about the power of active listening, not just waiting for your turn to talk, but truly being present and trying to see things from the other person's perspective. It also emphasizes the importance of expressing appreciation and gratitude. Even for small gestures, these seemingly simple things can have a profound impact on how we connect with others.
Yeah, it's like those little acts of kindness can actually build a stronger foundation.
For the relationship, I love that. Okay, so we've talked about work and relationships, but what about those times when life throws us a curveball? Can EI help us navigate those tough situations too?
That's where EI becomes a lifeline. Think about it. When we're stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, our emotions can easily cloud our judgment and lead us to make impulsive decisions. But the book argues that by developing strong EI skills, we can learn to ride those waves of emotion without getting swept away.
Okay, that sounds amazing in theory, but how do we actually do that? Give me the practical steps. One powerful technique that the book highlights is called name it to tame it. Have you ever noticed that when you're feeling overwhelmed, simply putting a name to that emotion, like I'm feeling anxious or I'm feeling overwhelmed, can actually help to lessen its intensity?
Interesting. So it's like you're acknowledging the emotion without letting it completely take over.
Exactly. By labeling the emotion, you're creating a bit of space
Yeah.
between yourself and that feeling, which allows you to respond with more intention instead of just reacting on autopilot. It's like you're taking back the reins.
I love that analogy. So instead of being a passenger
Mm.
in your own emotional roller coaster,
Yeah.
you're actually in the driver's seat.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes that this takes practice. The more we become aware of our emotional patterns, the better equipped we are to manage those intense feelings and make choices that align with our values.
Okay. So name it to tan it is one tool.
Yeah.
What other EI tricks can help us stay resilient when things get tough?
Well, another key strategy is to cultivate a positive outlook. Now, this isn't about toxic positivity or pretending everything is perfect. It's about consciously choosing to focus on the good, even amidst challenges. The book emphasizes that our thoughts shape our emotions. So by reframing negative thoughts into more positive or neutral ones, we can actually shift our emotional state.
So it's like flipping the script in our heads. Instead of dwelling on what's going wrong, we look for those silver linings or lessons learned.
Precisely, it's about recognizing that even in difficult situations, there's always something to be grateful for, something to learn, or some opportunity for growth. And that shift in perspective can make a huge difference in how we cope with stress and adversity.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. It's like choosing to see the glass half full instead of half empty.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sold on the power of EI for navigating tough times. But I'm curious, what does the book say about leadership? Does EI play a special role there?
That's one area the book really dives deep into, it argues, that emotionally intelligent leaders are not only more effective, but also more likely to create positive and thriving workplaces.
Yeah, I can see that. A leader who's self-aware and empathetic is probably going to build stronger relationships with their team
Yeah,
and inspire them to do their best work.
absolutely. And that's just the beginning. The book highlights several key ways that EI can make leaders truly stand out. For one, they're incredibly inspiring and motivating. They have this knack for connecting with people on an emotional level, which makes them more persuasive and influential.
So it's not just about barking orders,
Key.
but about getting people genuinely excited about the mission.
Right. Think about a leader you admire, someone who's really charismatic and gets people fired up. Chances are they have a high degree of emotional intelligence, and it goes beyond inspiration. Emotionally intelligent leaders are also great at building trust and connection within their teams. They create an environment where people feel safe to share their ideas, take risks, and be themselves.
That sounds like a pretty awesome place to work.
It is. And when tough situations arise, these leaders are able to navigate them with grace and composure. They don't shy away from conflict, but they approach it with a level head and a genuine desire to find solutions that work for everyone.
So they're like the calm in the storm.
Exactly. And perhaps most importantly, emotionally intelligent leaders make smart choices that consider both facts and people. They're not just driven by data or logic. They also take into account the emotional impact of their decision.
Yes, so they're not just robots in suits, but actual human beings who care about the people they're leading. That's refreshing. Okay, I have to ask, what about parenting? Can EI help us navigate the joys and challenges of raising kids?
That's another area where the book offers some really insightful advice. It suggests that EI can be a game changer for parents, especially when it comes to understanding those sometimes baffling emotions that kids, and especially teenagers,
Are prone to.
yeah, teenage emotions are a whole other level. Right. But by using EI, parents can become more attuned to their children's emotional needs. Whether it's a toddler throwing a tantrum or a teenager struggling with peer pressure.
So instead of just saying, get over it, we can actually help them work through those big feelings.
Precisely. And not only that, by modeling emotionally intelligent behavior ourselves, we can teach our kids how to manage their own emotions in healthy ways.
So it's like, do as I do, not just as I say.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes the importance of creating a home environment where everyone feels safe to be themselves, to express their emotions, and to know that they'll be met with understanding and support.
That sounds like a recipe for a happy and well-adjusted family.
It certainly is. And it all comes back to the power of emotional intelligence.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive into emotional intelligence for dummies. We talked about what EI is, why it matters for work, relationships, and handling tough times, and even touched on its importance for leaders and parents. I feel like I'm already leveling up my EI game just by talking about it.
That's the beauty of it. Simply becoming aware of these concepts is a huge first step. And remember, this book is packed with even more practical tips and strategies.
Absolutely. But before we jump into those, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive into some key takeaways and explore how you can start applying EI in your own life. Stay tuned. All right, we're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive into emotional intelligence for dummies. We've talked about what EI is and why it matters. But now, let's get to the good stuff. How can we actually put all this knowledge into practice?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The book offers a ton of practical advice, but if I had to, distill it down to a few key takeaways, I'd say this. Start by focusing on your self-awareness.
Okay, back to basics. But how do we actually become more self-aware? It's not like there's a mirror for our emotions.
Yeah, you're right. It's not always easy to see our own patterns and blind spots. The book suggests keeping a journal, and in it, track your emotions throughout the day and notice what triggers them. You can also talk to a trusted friend or a therapist, someone who can offer an objective perspective. And don't underestimate the power of mindfulness practices like meditation or deep breathing. They can help you tune in to your inner landscape and notice those subtle emotional shifts.
So it's like becoming a scientist of your own emotions, observing, experimenting, gathering data.
Exactly. The more you understand your own emotional patterns, the better equipped you'll be to manage those intense feelings and make conscious choices rather than just reacting impulsively.
That makes a lot of sense. So step one, boost that self-awareness. What's next on our EI training plan?
Next up, flex those empathy muscles. This is where social awareness comes in. It's about making a conscious effort to step into other people's shoes, to see the world from their perspective, and to understand their feelings.
Okay, empathy, I get it. But honestly, sometimes it's hard to muster up empathy, especially when someone is being, well, difficult. Any tips for those moments?
The book emphasizes that empathy isn't about condoning someone's behavior, but rather trying to understand the emotions driving it. So ask yourself, what might this person be going through? What might have happened in their past to make them react this way? Even if you don't agree with their actions, you can still acknowledge their feelings and try to see things from their point of view.
Oh, so it's like taking a pause before judging, putting on your compassionate detective hat.
Exactly. And it's not always easy, but the more we practice empathy, the stronger our relationships become. It allows us to communicate more effectively, resolve conflicts more constructively, and build a world where people feel seen and heard.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired. Anything else we should add to our EI toolkit?
Absolutely. Remember the name it to tame it technique we talked about earlier? This is a simple but powerful tool for managing those intense emotions that can sometimes hijack our behavior. So when you feel yourself getting overwhelmed, take a moment to pause, breathe, and label what you're feeling. I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's like you're giving that emotion a name tag, so it's not so scary and overwhelming.
Precisely. And that simple act of labeling can create some distance between you and the emotion, allowing you to respond with more intention instead of just reacting on autopilot.
That's such a great reminder. It's like you're taking back control of the situation instead of letting your emotions run the show.
Exactly. And the beauty of this technique is that you can use it anywhere, anytime. It's like having a secret weapon for navigating those challenging moments.
Okay, I'm adding that name it to tame it
Yeah.
to my mental toolbox,
Oh.
for sure. Any other gems of wisdom from Emotional Intelligence for Dummies before we wrap things up?
One final thought that really resonated with me is this. Emotional intelligence. It's not about being perfect. It's not about never getting angry or upset or never making mistakes. It's about acknowledging our humanness, embracing our imperfections, and striving to be the best versions of ourselves.
I love that. It's like giving ourselves permission to be human with all our messy, complicated emotions.
Exactly. And it's about remembering that we're all on this journey together, learning and growing along the way. So be kind to yourself, be patient with others, and never stop exploring the amazing power of emotional intelligence.
What an inspiring way to end our deep dive. I feel like I've gained so much insight into the world of emotional intelligence and how it can transform our lives.
Me too. It's been an incredible journey.
And a huge thank you to our listeners for joining us on this Real Reads review of Emotional Intelligence for Dummies. We hope you found it as insightful and empowering as we did. Remember, emotional intelligence is a skill, not a trait. It's something we can all cultivate and strengthen with practice.
And who knows, it might even become your superpower.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep those emotions in check.